Greetings and welcome, ladies and gentlemen and everyone in between. I'm John Maciel. After a short break from YouTube and after doing a weekend of streaming, I'm back with another Shadow Era video. The 2019 Shadow Era World Championship kicked off over the weekend, and I want to congratulate A1 Beantalk for winning the World Championship with Vest Swift Hands. The deck code for his winning deck is in the description of this video. Now, it's been a while since I did a free-to-play video in the series. To say this video is overdue would be an understatement. The last video I did for the series was for the top 5 best decks for November 2019. I'm going to continue doing a monthly best decks review based on the decks used in the top of the ratings, which would certainly help both current and new players playing through the meta or getting started in the latter. While I haven't done a free-to-play video in quite some time, I was not neglecting the account. Since my last video on it, I finished the easy mode campaign playthrough for Lance. So let's hop into the game right now, and here we are. Now, during this video, I'll put those matches for the campaign I finished in the quarter of this video, just for posterity's sake. After I finished doing the easy mode campaign for Lance, I then finished building the Lance deck that I wanted to build. So let's check that deck out. And don't worry, any decks I talk about in this video will have deck codes in the description. So let's see what we got here. Now you can see hero here. So I got my Skilled Ironmonger. Skilled Ironmonger goes pretty well with the weapons in the deck, like Ankle Breaker or Dagger of Unmaking. Also goes well with Rabble Rouser. You drop a Skilled Ironmonger on turn 2, play a Rabble Rouser on turn 3. Suppose you're going first and quickly kill their turn 2 ally in return. I got Night Owl here. It has stealth and also draws you a card when it's killed. I got Sword Thief, which is kind of like a Lyrian Seductress but for rogues. So they're not stunned, but they can't attack or defend. And it's unconditional with some 2-cost ally stats. So pretty good in the early game for keeping things under control because your goal is to get into the late game. And then as mentioned, we got Rabble Rouser with the buff for rogue allies having +2 attack and meek meaning they can't attack heroes until the end of the turn. And you draw a card when you play it. So you have Night Owl, Rabble Rouser, and Tainted Oracle, all with card draw effects. And that is the primary draw of the deck. We also have a Dahlia Black Rose. So she kills an ally when summoned if you discard a weapon in your hand with X cost. So all the weapons in this deck are 5 cost. So I can kill other allies 5 cost or less. That's primarily for anti-haste allies. More commonly, Braxtonian Soldier. There's also Aldmore Sentry, which is another one, and there's also Towering Brute. So that's what she's mainly there for, but she'll help with any allies that are giving you trouble, that are 5 cost or less. Right? Remember that. Eris Fate Weaver, pretty staple ally to pull in for haste. Also, target abilities destroyed for her, so that's going to help you with warrior matchups. Quickly getting rid of things like Crippling Blows. And other warrior attachments like Blood Frenzy and Rage and so forth. Then we have Nathanius, People's Champion. When you summon, draw a card. If that card is an ally, then it's at no cost. And since we have a lot of allies in here, we have a pretty good chance for that. Retreat, this is primarily for helping control the early game. You can also use it to cycle Sword Thieves. You can cycle a Dahlia if you want to. Break Crippling Blows in your guys. Pretty good card for this style of deck. We've got Anarchic Looting. All items are destroyed. Draw a card for each item that was destroyed. We're not running a lot of items, but we do run a few. It's okay to use it if you have items on the board. Just make sure you use them first to maximize the effect. Maximize the use of those weapons. We do have a Stun Turret here, which is another card that can disable those anti-haste allies. So I like to have that in here. Then we have our Ankle Breaker. 4 Ankle Breakers, we got 2 Dagger of Unmakings, and we got a Spell Eater Bands. Primarily because Zal's pretty popular. Majaya can show up quite a bit. So I like to have that ability damage tech in here. So that's it for the Lance deck. Let's see what we go from here. So with Lance done, I took the majority of the cards that I already built up playing Lance. I bought 4 Sinkholes, which is a good card to have overall. Then I played with Garth in easy mode until level 3. So with that, let's check out to see how our Garth deck looks. Let me open up here, load up Garth, and here we go. So a lot of the same allies: Skilled Ironmonger, Night Owl, Sword Thief, Rabble Rouser, Dahlia, and Nathanius. We have 4 Sinkholes in here, 3 Stop Thieves. Remember we had that before. Stun Turret. We had Ill-Gotten Gains, Ankle Breaker, 2 Dagger of Unmaking, and Spell Eater. You saw these that I had earlier for tech in the earlier part of the Lance video. I would normally like to get hit list for Garth and some other cards in here for Garth too, but I didn't want to spend a lot on it. I just used the cards I already had. And this deck is pretty good overall. You know, it's got some nice beefy allies in here. Don't have a lot of complaints for it. It's probably not, I wouldn't call this a top tier Garth deck, but it would certainly win you some games playing this if you wanted to. So that's it for Garth. From there, what'd I do? Yes, I bought 4 Larian Knights, Larian Seductress, and Shadow Bolt. Then played with Eladwen in easy mode campaign until level 3. I didn't necessarily need Shadow Bolt for Eladwen since I had Lightning Strike, but it is a card I wanted to add to the collection. It's just a strong mage card for non-rush mage builds, especially for Gravebone, so I knew I definitely wanted it for Gravebone decks in the future. So let's see how that Eladwen deck looks. Let's load that up here. And here we go. We got a 4 Larian Knights, our 3 Aldens that we had before, 4 Larian Seductress. We got 4 Tainted Oracles. We got Sorcerer of Endia. Got that too. There's our 2 Braxtonian Soldiers. These are kind of like tech allies. This is good for going second. Fireball is also fine for going second. We got that in here too. Then we got our Transmog Curse, which synergizes very well with Twilight of Endia. You can see that this tech ability costs less for each item and ability the opposing player controls. And when you use Transmog Curse and ally, it counts as an, say how it says, artifact without durability. Artifacts are items, so that will synergize with your sorcerer. So it's pretty nice synergy there for that added tech for sorcerer. Then we got our 3 Shadow Bolts. Very nice for accelerating your hero ability. You saw me using that in the Fire Magia video, so we have it here again. Then we have 3 Supernova. This is primarily our finishing tool for finishing the game off, so we have 3 of them. Generally, you want to play Supernova when you have Priest of the Light in your deck, which here I do not have it. I could probably sub out Seductress for it, since strategically you want your health pool to be higher than your opponent, and Priest of the Light helps with that. Then we got 1 Leyline Nexus for some big item tech. Things like King's Pride, Ankle Breakers, and the sorts. We got 4 Tome of Knowledge for draw. That will go with our Tainted Oracle. It is pretty slow draw, so I want to say that you're not going to be flying through your deck drawing this way with Tainted Oracle and Tome of Knowledge. So you draw when you need to. You do have a lot of spells in here, a lot of control spells. That should help you get through. You also got your Stun Turret for some extra passive disables. And 2 Daggers of Unmaking. That should help you with your board control too. So that's it for our Eladwen deck here. Next, what do we got here? Then I bought 2 Spectral Sabers, 2 Bad Santas, and the remaining Jeweler's Dream I needed to fill that out to 4, because I did have a few. Again, this is kind of RNG. You're going to have some different cards than I did. But the gold amount required to build these decks should be the same in terms of selling cards you don't want or need. But then I played Amber in easy mode until level 3. This deck can also be considered a tier 1 deck alongside Lance. So let's see how this Amber deck goes. So again, this is our 2nd tier 1 deck. And here we go. So this has the 4 Larian Knights, the 3 Aldens, and the 4 Seductress that we use in Eladwen. We also had 2 Braxtonian Weaponsmiths. Very good for helping to dig out for those weapons. They don't always show up right away, and Brax is going to put those weapons on the top of your deck because they are 4 or more. You would only draw if they would cost 3 or less. Then we got Yari Marksman. This is a fantastic control tool for warriors. Syncs up very well with Crippling Blow and Larian Seductress, since it's kind of locking up allies on the board. And Yari Marksman does more damage the more allies that they have on the board. Then we have Braxnorian Soldier as our haste tech. Lance is very popular. And while Lance does run Dahlia with weapons, that's still 2 cards that he's playing to deal with year 1, so that's still a net card advantage for when Lance has to do that. And that's why I suggest that if Lance is an issue, you're still using your Braxnorian Soldiers on the if you're playing a human deck to deal with that. Now we have 3 crippling blows and 3 retreats. I like to do an even split between those 2 because sometimes you want to cripple an ally, sometimes you just want to bounce them. So we have an even split between those 2. We have 2 Bad Santas for extra draw. One smashing blow for some tech. Some people run 2. It's really up to you how much you want to use. I have 4 Blood Frenzies, 1 Enrage, 4 Jeweler's Dream, 2 Spectral Saber, and 1 Reserve Weapon. So that is our Amber deck. Very good to have. So that's 2 competitive decks we have at this point. Then I just took the cards I had accumulated for Warriors, like between the Logan starter deck that we got in the beginning of the series, as well as the Amber deck I built. And then I just played with Tala in easy mode until level 3. So let's see how that Tala looks after I had played through with her. Here she is, Tala, and here we go. We got 4 knights. This is the same stuff that we've seen already. Knight, Brave, Seductress. 3 Yari Marksman here because I'm trying to even out the amount of allies because I really like to play some fatties in Tala, like Braxnorian Soldier again. Actually, this is not bad to have as protector since allies at 3 health or less can't attack him. So he's a little bit of a beefy guy that you can put protector on. War Giant has all combat damage to War Giant reduced by 1. And when he deals combat damage to an ally, that ally is exiled. So if they attack into him, they're going to be kicked off unless they have Steadfast. Chances are he will kill them though, because he'll have 4 attack if you buff it with Tala. Maybe you have 5 attack on him because he has an Eladwen behind him. Maybe 6 attack with Nanaya here. We have 1 Nanaya here. This is nice to put behind a protector because of the passive of when another friendly ally leaves combat with an opposing ally, Nanaya attacks that opposing ally if she's able to. So we have 1 Nanaya. I didn't have 2, otherwise I'll put it 2. But again, I was going to buy another Nanaya just for this deck. So I just have the 1, and I took one of the Nathanias that I have from Lance, put it in here. Then we have 4 Crippling Blows, 4 Retreats, 2 Bad Santas, 1 Smashing Blow, 4 Blood Frenzy. These are all typical cards. We got an Enrage, we got a Stunter, and then we got a couple of Spectral Saber, just for some extra attachment tech. If I don't need it for attachments, it's got some nice weapon stats, a 2/2 and a 4-cost weapon. So pretty nice there. So that's a, not a top tier Tala deck. Oh, excuse me. But it'll certainly do pretty well. Well enough for campaign. Maybe you can mess around with it, but it's so it won't be too much to build cards up from there for Tala if you want to go further with her. Finally, at this point, I've built up enough Shadow Crystals to buy the Deepwood Trapper pre-constructed deck. I don't want to build a Victor deck. I actually want to build a Baduruu deck. But this deck has a lot of cards I wanted for Baduruu, including Krugel Trapper, Deepwood Bobcat, Camouflage Flow, Hunter's Gambit, Soul Seeker. Just so many good hunter cards in there. So I got that. Then I still had a bunch of gold from all the playing I was doing. So I bought the Emor Crossbows, Grundler's Doubles, and the rest of the cards I needed for the deck. Then I played Baduruu in easy mode campaign until level 3. So this deck is our 3rd tier 1 deck. So let's take a look at the Baduruu I ended up building from that. We got 4 Krugel Trappers, 4 Deepwood Bobcat, 4 Snowland Spotter. I did toss in a Shriek of Vengeance in there. This was this could be a Shadow Font. Most anything really. But I just wanted the extra tech for Baduruu in here. Maybe you're playing because Baduruu doesn't like to play against Amber. If you saw the World Championship stream, so that Shriek of Vengeance will get rid of at least one of her Jeweler's Streams, so it might help out that matchup a little bit. So that's why I put that in there. It felt like it helps to answer against that matchup. Then I have 4 Pack and Extra. which packing extra is a hunter ability, so that's going to sync up with Deepwood Bobcat. It's be an easy haste in for it. Also great for your weapons, because you are buffing, you do have double attack with Spotter, you're buffing it with Baduruu, so that packing extra is really going to help get you more value from your weapon. We also got Here Be Monsters. I like this in Baduruu, because you can summon a weapon in your hand for free, regardless of the cost. So Here Be Monsters can really keep that resource count low, making it more difficult for your opponent to play around that. For the same reason why a lot of players like to use it in Bloodfang, whereas he's summoning a free ally from hand instead for 5. So yeah, definitely a nice one to have in here. Then we have Hunter's Gambit, which is kind of both draw and board control, because it does reduce their health by 2, and then you draw 2 cards when they're killed. Leyline Nexus in here. Baduruu's used to put like 2 in here when Armor of Ages was a lot stronger before it got nerfed. Still very good for getting rid of like King's Pride, and Ankle Breakers if you're playing, or Cutlass if you're playing Serena. So I like to keep at least 1 Leyline in here. Primarily for armors, but if there's no armor, I'll just take out one of their weapons. Then we got 4 Camouflage Flow, so this is the only trap that Trapper is going to be pulling, but that's okay. That's enough. It's a good trap to have in this deck, and it still whittles the deck down, so it's still like pseudo draw there. Then we got a Stun Turret for dealing, primarily to deal with Lance Fatties. You do have Grundler's Double to go through it, but there's also dealing with Kion, who reduces the damage that they're taking, so that will help you deal with that. 1 Nightcrawler. There's probably, so if you didn't want to put Shriek in here, or didn't want to put Leyline in here, you could put another Nightcrawler in here. Because primarily, I do like to have 2 in here, so I could probably substitute that with I could probably substitute the Shriek out for another Nightcrawler later on. Just didn't have the gold right now to do that. Then we have 1 Soul Seeker to help us with our healing. We have 2 Grundler's Double. Again, extra draw, attacks through stealth, so that's going to help with your lance matchups. And our primary weapon, though, is Emerald Crossbow. This thing does a truck ton of damage, basically doing like 5 damage at a time with Emor. 3 from the hero, 1 from the fire damage, and then the next turn while they're ablaze. So it's going to be like 5 damage you're hitting on allies. So that's it for the Baduruu deck. Now you've probably seen a pattern at this point that I'm doing here, and that is to use easy mode campaign to quickly level heroes up to 3. That's because you get 25 shadow crystals per level for each hero. You won't reach level 4 if you complete the entire easy mode campaign for a hero, but you will reach level 3 completing less than half of it. So before you're even done with that first stage, meaning you can easily earn 1,600 shadow crystals, 32 times 50 per hero. By leveling all 32 heroes to level 3. You can buy a lot of packs, or even several of these pre-constructed decks, like the Deepwood Trapper costs $275. The question then is what to buy with all that extra gold. Chances are you're going to want to experiment with a lot of decks and heroes. Each class has their own class cards that they have access to, and each hero has their own specific cards they like to include. But for simplicity's sake, I want to look at generic allies for each faction that you'll likely use most of these allies in for your decks. Some more than others, some less. So what allies to buy? Using our general rule of thumb, remember we did our Baduruu guide for general deck building. 40 card deck, we want to look at 20 allies. So like 4 2-cost allies, 10 3-cost allies, and 6 fatties, right? So you're starting off and you want to figure out what allies to get. So let's exit our Shadow Era here and go back to our screen so I can highlight these allies for you. Actually, you know what? We can just do it right in the game, can't we? Yes, we can. So let's hop back in here. There we go. That's right. We're doing this on the fly. This is lightly scripted, lightly planned. I do a lot of these on the fly, though. But I try to at least get my thoughts straight, right? So let's open up a human deck first, doesn't matter what. We'll open up Amber. So for our 2-cost allies, this guy right here. You see this in like all my decks, right? Larian Knight. This is a beast to put down forward. Sword or claw attack reduced by 1 damage to it, but all ability damage to Larian Knight is increased by 1. So a lot of Shadow decks will play Death Mage Thaddeus. So if Thaddeus pings Knight, it's going to do 2 damage to it instead of 1. So watch out for that. And other allies that don't have sword or claw attack are going to do their normal amount of damage. So like allies that have like ice attack or fire attack, right? Arcane, that's going to go through Knight normally. So just keep that in mind when you're using Larian Knight. From here, 3 Alden the Brave. Normally 3 because it's unique, so we don't generally want 4 because otherwise it might clog the deck up a little bit, right? Friendly allies have +1 attack in your turn. Very simple, very strong. This is like a finisher in itself. You have a board full of allies, or a way to get backboard to stop your Alden, giving them that extra +1 attack, kill off their allies. From there, this one right here. Larian Seductress. I got 4 of them in here. Now you remember me mentioning before that we had that I liked another particular ally. So the next guy that I like for humans, 4 of these guys. 4 Priests of the Light. 3 Priests of the Light. You see, I have 775 gold. Can't do much with that right now, but you want 3 of these. 3. So that's our 10 3-cost allies there. That's Alden, Larian, Seductress, and Priest of the Light. From there, now we start going into fatties. So we'll just stay in the merchants, easy enough. 2 of these guys, Braxnoian Soldier. You've seen how many times I've talked about Lance. This guy's going to help you against Lance. Even if he includes Stun Turret and Dahlia's in there, because if people stop using Braxnoian Soldier because he has Dahlia and Stun Turret, you know what happens? He stops using Dahlia and Stun Turret and goes back to using stronger allies instead of them. Goes back away from using Dagger von Macon. So you want to force Lance to include these options of dealing with your tech, okay? You want to force him to do that. You don't want him to go away scot-free, okay? So 2 of those Brax. Next one that I like, pretty generic ally that a lot of human decks run, is 2 of these. Visca, the Scarlet Blade. Haste, 3/6, 6 cost. All combat damage dealt to Visca from heroes is reduced to 1. Particularly good. You'll tend to see like a lot of Ambers, a lot of Baduruus on the ladder. So Visca attacks into them, only takes 1 damage and takes that durability off the weapon. So very strong in those kinds of decks, and strong overall. Especially if you already have an Eladwen on the board, she'll come into a 4 attack instead. So we definitely like Visca. And the other fatty that we like to have generically around is this guy, Kion. 2 of him. Again, he's pricey, 3,200 gold. But he's found in campaign packs, so you can definitely run those campaign packs instead. Steadfast, opposing heroes and allies lose stealth on the turn Kion enters play. So it isn't just Moonstalker, right? That's Lance's allies too. So you can get their stealth out of there. And all damage to your allies are reduced by 1. That's your allies, not your hero. Okay, but still, very good tool to have. So you can have a combination of Kion, reducing the damage your allies take. You can have Alden, increasing the attack of your allies. Very good pairing, Kion and Alden. Okay, now let's check out the Shadow allies that I like to use in these decks. So I'm going to click Show Unusable, because right now I have a human hero loaded, so I want to make sure these load up for you. So I'm going to look at this here. So we have Feasterling. 4 of these, okay? Now keep in mind, you do have Sustain 1 HP on here. Your hero takes a damage when you activate the ability. So if you're trying to run like a Shadow Mage deck with these guys, you probably want to avoid relying on Supernova, because Supernova is dealing damage to everything, including your hero. So if your hero is already low in health, you don't necessarily want to use those Supernovas. So just be careful with that when it comes to using Feasterling. Next, we want 3 of these Death Mage Thaddeus. Remember when I showed you how popular Larian Knight is, right? And the extra damage Thaddeus can do to Larian Knight when you summon him. Well, that's Thaddeus was already strong before that. Larian Knight just makes it an even more reason to use him. There's also Masked Bandit, which is another popular 2-cost ally. But Masked Bandit gets shuffled back into its owner's deck after it's taken damage. So Thaddeus will help with that too. So just a really good ally to have on your side. Now this next one might actually surprise some people. This is one I really like in a lot of decks actually, is Flamespitter. 4 of these. Why is that? Well, on the human side, you saw that going second, you can play Larian Seductress and stun an ally, right? You don't have that option in Shadow, What you do have is this guy. So this guy you see only has 1 attack, but when an opposing hero or ally enters combat with him, they take 2 fire damage. Or in Lair Knight's case, 3 fire damage. Meaning Lair Knight can't even attack into this guy without dying. Then you have, like, maybe playing a Wolven deck with Bloodpack Shaman. Shaman can't attack into him either. Maybe they have a Mass Bandit. Well, they can attack into him with Bandit, but then Bandit will be shuffled back into their deck. He's actually just a really good Shadow ally for going second. So again, you don't have that Lair and Seductress option. So Flamespitter I actually really like for Shadow as a going second play. The other ally that I really like for Shadow is this guy. 3 of these, Grimghast. So you'll see that Grimghast and Thaddeus are both unique, and we'll get into that. Opposing allies have -1 attack. So this is on an ally, as opposed to Priest's Artifact Book of Curses. But this is basically like a mini Kion attack, a Kion ability for you. Whereas Kion is reducing all damage your allies are taking, Grimghast is reducing the opposing allies' attack instead. So it's like a mini Kion for Shadow. It's a reverse Alden. Shadow does not have a lot of control allies at their disposal like human do. This is one of the few that they actually have. So that's why I like to keep Grimghast around. Oh, I'm sorry, throat's really dry right now. Alright, so from there, remember I told you there were uniques. One thing that Shadow do have at their disposal that humans don't is Sacrificial Lamb. What Sac Lamb does is it sacrifices an ally on your side and you draw cards equivalent to their cost. So if it's a 3-cost ally, up to 3. So if it's a 3-cost ally, you draw 3 cards. So if you have say if you have Grimghast in play, an extra one in hand, and you're short of cards in hand, you can choose a Sac Lamb. Get rid of this Grimghast, draw 3 cards, and play the other one, right? Or get rid of Crippling Blows, right? So Sac Lamb is actually really good. A lot of Shadow decks use it. So Shadow decks can actually get away with having a few more unique allies than human decks because of that. So going from there, we have this guy. I like to run 2 of him. In terms of a generic 4-cost ally, really good. Target opposing ally at the lowest health takes X damage, or X is Murder Sulk's attack value. So I can do 2 damage and another 2 damage with that. That's 1 CC, so that's pretty good for dealing a total of 4 damage on a 4-cost ally. And it's on the lowest health too, so you can pretty much guarantee a kill on a smaller ally with Hulk. So nothing in here that's going to be buffing him per se in this generic list, but he's just a really beefy ally to have. Now the 5-cost ally, generic 5-cost ally. Let's show. Shadow Knight. 5 attack, 4 health. When he's summoned, the top ally in your graveyard is returned to your hand. So you're getting extra allies back from the graveyard. Remember that thing about running a couple of Sacrificial Lambs, right? Shadow Knight, we got those allies right back. So if you're running a Sacrificial Lamb, you're basically guaranteeing a target for Shadow Knight to pull. Some people, you'll get into a situation where you don't have any allies in your graveyard yet, and it's turn 5, you never Shadow Knight in your hand, and it feels really, really bad to play it, you know? So Sac Lamb can help you make sure you get value from your Shadow Knights. So that's it for those generic allies. Now, a number of heroes actually like to have draw allies in their decks too, both human and on the Shadow side. You don't necessarily want to take up 8 to 10 slots of the rest of your deck from allies for draw. If you do use allies like these in the 40-card deck, though, I'd recommend upping your ally count total from the normal 20 to 22. About that. This is because their main function is to draw, so they're typically weaker bodies on the board. As such, you don't want to count them as full allies in your deck. So say Shadow Knight, for example, we had up here, right? So you could probably, using Shadow Knight, since he is kind of a weaker body in the board, only 4 health. Though he does have 5 attacks. So if the board's empty, then he's really good to play. But you could probably add like 2 more Murderous Hulk, right? And have 4 of him instead to bump that up to 22 allies in your deck. So let's take a look at these draw allies. So we have this guy on the human side, Tainted Oracle. That's why I have 4 of them already in my collection. You saw that in my Lance deck. When Tainted Oracle is killed, draw 2 cards. Now remember, Stun Turret is pretty popular in decks. So if they use a Stun Turret on your Tainted Oracle and disable the passive, they can kill the Oracle and you don't get any draw in return. Now, The Shadow side is a bit more complicated than that in terms of their best ally, because it's like a combo that you want to put into your deck. Let me pull that up here for you real quick. Oh, merchant, something, there we go. So the first comp part of it is this guy right here. Okay. False Blood Cultist. When False Blood Cultist is summoned, you may discard target card in your hand to draw 2 cards. So it's immediate draw 2 cards, unlike Tainted Oracle. You gotta make sure Tainted Oracle's passive isn't disabled, right? To draw the 2 cards and get it killed. False Blood Cultist, it is a... you don't get a net gain out of it. It's neutral, right? So ideally, you're discarding a card in your hand that you don't need, putting False Blood Cultist onto the board and drawing 2 cards. If you're using Cultist, I would recommend this guy as your 3-cost ally then. As one of your 3-cost allies, Brimstone Devourer. He's a 2/5 ally, so he's a decent body in the board. And if he's discarded from anywhere, the opposing ally with the lowest health takes 3 damage. So you can see what I'm saying, right? So ideally, you target this guy to get discarded. And again, make sure you have a few more extra allies. So you should have like 22 allies in there. So you could still run, probably still run a couple of Grimghast, a couple of Thaddeus. But if you're running 4 Cultists, I would definitely recommend running 4 Devourers in there. Just to try to get that extra damage value from the discard. That way it's like, that's why it's summoned, False Blood Cultist is being summoned. You're playing a free 3 fire damage spell, right, with it from your hand, and drawing 2 cards. So you get much better value that way. Okay, so did it that way instead of doing it nice and clean, you know. Just figured stuck in the deck. So I'm sorry about the little mess up there with the merchant screen though. Yeah, it happens. You know, what can you do? So next time in the free-to-play series, I will work on getting more heroes and leveling them up to level 3, as well in the easy mode campaign. I may even complete the easy mode campaign for each of the heroes. That's because it's extra gold, it's extra XP to be closer to leveling up. Because if you complete the full easy mode campaign, you're like, I don't know, like 100 XP away from leveling to level 4. And you get a random foil card at the end of the campaign. So this foil card can either be something you use or you sell for extra gold. Foil cards actually sell for double the amount of its normal version. So it's definitely worth doing, because if you end up with a foil card you don't need, well, you get a good chunk of extra gold out of it. So that's it for today's free-to-play video. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll catch you guys next time. Hey everyone, did you enjoy today's video? Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Did you hate today's video? Then be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It's really the only way I can tell. Thanks.